Hello again. It's Tom here with an unbiased, unsponsored review, and this time it's of the Sony Xperia 1.5 smartphone. And the reason why I gave this a shot was because of the positive reviews, overwhelming positive reviews I heard about the camera's ability and all the features that are available for the video-centric types like yours truly. Now, like I said, this is not a sponsored video. However, I will share some findings that somewhat disappointed me that I guess at least none of the video reviews that I saw on this on YouTube had even mentioned. And I also own the iPhone 14 Pro Max as a basis for comparison. Now, I understand that there are many great features on this phone, and that includes, like, for example, a dedicated shutter button, the memory card slot, and those are huge for videographers. However, the one thing that would be make all those things all for naught, as far as I'm concerned, is the quality of the video and audio itself. Because if those are not good, then all bets are off as far as I'm concerned, because then it becomes an unusable device because of those shortcomings. Now, right off the bat, the first thing that I noticed that was different from the iPhone, aside from the fact that you don't have the same ecosystem that you would, the advantages that you would have with an Apple system, the Apple universe right there. But that wasn't the issue. The issues. Right off the bat, the internal mic on this Xperia 1-5 compared to the iPhone was not that good. I mean, I know it's subjective, but just A-B comparison between the two, I could tell that the built-in microphone on the iPhone just sounded better, especially when you're vlogging and, up close. And speaking of vlogging, the other thing that I noticed, the front-facing camera, which you would tend to use a lot for vlogging, but the reviewers kept on, focusing on the rear-facing camera, which of course is going to be the superior camera, but hardly anybody touched on this crappy front-facing camera. Okay, number one, it's not a very wide-angle camera. Another thing, right off the bat, there's no HDR 60 available, whether it's 1080 or 4K. It's unavailable on this phone. iPhone, it is. Your front-facing camera could do HDR video, and it's slightly wider angle, which is actually an advantage. I just noticed a slight difference. It really wasn't significant, but the lack of 60 frames per second and HDR in combination on the front-facing camera, that's a deal breaker right there. Besides the bad internal mic. Internal mic, it's very important because any phone you should be able to just pick up and use without having to attach an external mic to it, because the iPhone, it sounds good enough to where you could use that audio that's coming from the internal mics without having to make an attachment to other accessories like an external microphone. Okay. What else? What else did I notice? Oh yeah, low light performance. Call it what you will. Once again, it's subjective again. But I tried using this in low light HDR setting, 1080. I didn't want to push it too far because I wanted to keep the 60 frames per second. At a local low lit karaoke place that's over in Vallejo that I hang out at. That's where I do a lot of my testing. But on my OLED TV, my 65-inch OLED TV, making the comparison with the iPhone, I still thought the iPhone looked better on my TV. What the? Isn't this supposed to excel at video? And okay, on a side note, here's one for you. One of my favorite apps that I like using on the iPhone is Dualgram. Dualgram is what allows you to film with both the front and the rear lenses, and I love that app. And I was looking for a similar app on Android. Now here's the key: the specification that goes on that little front-facing camera. More than likely, you're going to be using the front-facing camera. Did I say that right? Anyway, that has to be at least, close to the settings that you have on the main camera. In other words, if you're going 60 frames per second on the main camera, I would expect it to go 60 frames per second on the front-facing camera. That way they're in sync. Well, I wasn't even able to make that comparison because there was no dual-gram Android version that I found, number one. Maybe there are other equivalent types where it'll allow you to use both cameras simultaneously at similar camera settings, but I couldn't find one unless you could tell me otherwise. But just those issues alone was a deal breaker. It's like there are just too many issues that you can't overcome. Oh, did I mention that when you're using a gimbal, like the popular DJI mobile OM6, it's their best smartphone gimbal, that you can't even adjust the frame rate on that gimbal using the internal DJI app. Anything other than 30 frames per second, what the hell? I mean, you could do 60 with the iPhone and HDR on the DJI app, but none of those features are available. And that means to me, you cannot take full advantage of that gimbal using the internal controls as far as I'm concerned, because you don't have the settings available, which means you're going to have to use the native app. Oh, here's another. I know. It sounds like I'm bashing Sony, but this is not. I mean, I was trying to like this camera, but once I found all these shortcomings that, that this phone had compared to my iPhone 14 Pro Max, it's like, if I'm paying $1,300 or close to $1,400 for this, I would expect this to at least have the same functionality. Or not. I won't argue the functionality, because this does have a lot of functions the iPhone doesn't have, as I mentioned. But if the technical quality doesn't at least equal that of the iPhone, that's a deal breaker as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, I've rambled enough. I bashed Sony enough as it is, but I'm sharing this video just so if you're ever considering this phone, those are the things that I found on there that, at least from what I've seen so far, no YouTube reviewer has even covered. Okay, that's what's catching me off guard right now. Unless I'm making a total bad oversight on things that I don't know about this phone. But that's pretty much it, and I'll stop my rambling right now. But thanks for listening and watching.